Hey guys, welcome back to my another video. This video is going to be a second video for building the React application so using the Redux. So I'll just go little rewind what we did on the last videos. So on the last video what we did is we created here, I'm going to show you the picture again. So we created the our store and reducer and state, and we bind with our React applications, but we haven't created the other features yet. So in this video we're going to create more features on here. So let's begin. Okay. So here is a reducer. So this is my reducer here, which I created on last video, and this is my store, which I created in the last video. And here is a restaurant app. Okay. So the first thing what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna create the couple of these the forms here, and I'm gonna take this form from using the Bootstrap. So I'll just directly go in a Bootstrap and get started. I will search on the form, and I will copy this any of the forms, it doesn't even matter. I will copy these forms and put it in my React applications here. Okay, I'll save it and I will clean this up a little bit here, otherwise it doesn't even work. I need to clean this. I save it, and I will clean this little more because there are a lot of things which I don't need. Okay, and I'm gonna go in my app component, and here in the app I'll just give a class name, and I'll just give here the container so I can see a little more padding and margin here. Okay, so now this is how it looks like. And now so I'll just go in my restaurant here, instead of email address I will just give a name, and here the type is going to be sorry, the text, and no need this hey email help stuff. This is going to be a location. This is going to be a text here, input type, and that's all about it. So now I can see a name and location and my submit button. That's all. So now let me create the inner state here for this restaurant. So using the use state, because I'm using the functional component here. So I will use a use state, and my state is going to be a restaurant state. Okay, this is my restaurant state, and the initial state is empty. That's all. And I need to import this using the here from React. So now I'm using this state here, and on input here, what I'm going to do on change, whenever this will change, uh, input will change, then I will set my set state, and in a set state I will set uh, I will get my regular state first, which is my restaurant state, and on the top of the regular state I will add something called name. Okay, so my regular state for restaurant is going to be empty, and I will add on the top of it, if it has and name something, then it will add the value which I got it from here. And here I will get the event, and to get the value from the event I need to do event.target.value. Okay, so now I will add this name. So I'll do exactly the same thing for the location here, but instead of this name I'll change this to location. So I'm gonna show you what's really going on with my event, with my state. So I will just print my state using a JSON stringify. I will put my I will print my state here. Okay, I will save it. Now as you guys can see here, if I change here something, I'll close this now. Looks like my state doesn't even print here. I need to know. Okay, I'll just save it. Okay, now it's here. So if I put it here, my name is changed. If I put it here, my location is changed. If I remove the location, location will change. If I name, then it will change. So this is my state that I created inside the restaurant component. This is not my Redux state, but we want to push this to Redux state. Okay, and Redux state, as you guys know, it's just a empty array, and we're gonna push this whenever the user will click the save. Okay, so once the user will click the save, then the form will submit. Then on submit, I can submit that state. Okay, now I can submit this state. Okay. Okay, now let me see what's the error is a class. As you guys can know, in React JS X, we don't have to use a class. We need to use a class name. Okay, so I'll use a class name. My error will gone. So now if I put name and if I put a location, if I click a save, oh, what happened if I click a save? Then it will reload it. Uh, it will post on the same page. So to block that, we need to use event dot prevent default function, so it will not submit our form. Okay, so now if I click a name location, if I click, it doesn't even submit, but as you can see, my name and location is here, which is good, which is what we need. So now we need to push this data to React, not React, sorry, Redux uh, state. Okay, how we can do this is I will go to the picture again. We have a view, we created a form. So now we need to click the action, and action will need to do dispatch, and it will call the reducer, and it will update the state, and the state will show it here. So now we need to call something called action and dispatcher, and to use this tool, we need to bind our view with with the Redux. To bind our component with restaurant component with the Redux, we need to use something called connect. Okay, connect. And this connect is coming from Redux, React Redux, and this is a higher order component. Okay, this is a higher order component. That's why it takes a two of these parentheses. On second parenthesis, we can put a restaurant here. But in the first one, we will get the state and we will get the action, which is called dispatch. We'll get the two of it. So the standard convention, what the Redux have is there's a name convention called map state to props. Okay, the first is we get the map state to props, and we need to write it down here. Okay, and the second one is called map dispatch to props. Okay, dispatch to props. Okay, so once we have this two, I need to also define what is it. Okay, it will give me an error here because map state to props is basically it's uh it's gonna give you the okay, it's gonna give me an error. So basically the map state to props is not giving me an empty array. Basically it's a function. Okay, it's a function, and it will provide me a state, so I can use this state on my component here. So I can give any name here, such as I will give a restaurant list because it will give me an empty array now. So I'll just give a restaurant list, and I will put my state here. So now it's going to return it this one, and here map dispatch to props will not also give you a empty array. It will give you the function here. Inside the function we will get something called dispatch. Okay, dispatch, and this dispatch is basically a functions here, and this dispatch will check the object. Okay, so what we need to do is we will return also this one, and we're gonna call one of the method here, and we can give any name here for now. Okay, we'll give something called add. So add is basically give you the restaurant object, which is going to be name and the location. And once the ad has been clicked on restaurant here, then this will call something called dispatch, and this map to dispatch to prof, which is on the connect here. So in dispatch, it will check the object here. So object is basically nothing, it's just a type. What is the type? For now, I'll just write it down, tag add, and another one is called action. So not sorry, action, it's a payload. We'll get a payload, and payload is basically a data we need to pass it to our reducer, and I will put a res here. I know it's a little confusing, but this is the standard convention how it really works. Okay, so once I create a map state to props and map dispatch to props, then I bind with restaurant. Now restaurant will get that data. So if I use a props here, so I can see here what inside the props. So I'll just do console log here, and I'll put this inside this curly bracket, and I can see what's really going on. So now it will load it at first 2 times, of course, and now it's going to show me the ad, and it's going to show me the restaurant list, which is empty. Okay, it's going to be empty. So on the ad, we can provide this restaurant. So instead of using the props.add to do a work, we can also create a constant here, and we can get something called restaurant list, the first thing, and which we're not going to use a restaurant list here, but anyway, we are getting this, and we also got the ad from props. And ad we recently created here on the bottom, ad. So this is ad what we got here. So now we could use this ad here. So at the time of submitting this form here, we already got the object. We can use the add functions here. So in the add, we'll just pass this restaurant state. So we can get this state, okay? So once its add has been triggering, then I will get this restaurant object here. Okay, I will get the restaurant object here. I can print this now. I'll comment this dispatch. So if I comment this, hopefully I will not get any error. So I'll submit. As you can see, the in line number 14 it's printing, which is on the top here, but it's also printing on line number 61 on the bottom, because we are calling this add functions right here, and this is the add functions, okay, right here, and we got. And once we got this restaurant here, we will use something called dispatch, and dispatch will take a type called add type, and here we could provide our action type. This is called action type, but in action type we need to create in separate files called action type, which we're going to create later on. But for now, just to give you guys to understand this how it really works, I'll just type it here just to make life a little easier. But otherwise we need to create something called action type, and we need to import it. But action type is basically nothing, it's just like enum. You just use it, you just define it there, and you just use it here. Otherwise you can use this in any other component, and it will be a spelling mistake or forgot something, just to make it consistent. Okay, so once I got this res, I will pass something called payload. So what happened if you call to dispatch, then where the data goes, right? You click this, you dispatch, this dispatch function will coming from map to dispatch from connect. Now where the data goes, so now the data will come on reducer. Okay, now here is the reducer pod is coming, guys. So here the reducer pod is coming, and the data is coming on action. If I print the action, so let's see what happened now. Okay, so I'm printing the action. So if I reload at first time, see my action type is init at first time. So this is printing from my action here. So at the time of loading, there is a init is printing. But if I add something, so as you guys can see, I know this is printing from my form. I can make this. I know this is printing my form here, the first one, but the second one here, the type called add, and the payload, I'm getting this data, and this is coming from reducer. In the reducer, in the action, we got two the property on action. The one is called type, and another is called payload. In the payload, we got our data, and type is add. Okay, because we wrote it here in this path, so the type is add, and payload is basically our data. So we got our data in action. So now what to do? We need to update our restaurant state here based on this data we already got. But we can get a many actions here. Many, sorry, not actions, but many action type here. We can get many action type. So for that, we can say if action type is add, we got the action type here called add. We also got the data on payload, which is location and name. We already got the data, but we got the data on where? On payload. So on restaurant state on the top here, we can push, okay? Oh, no, not restaurant state, sorry, state here. Here, we can push our payload, which is we got from action.payload, which is basically nothing. It's just the object here. Okay, so we are pushing this data right here, and after we pushing this data, we need to return our state. Okay, so we're gonna return our newly created state, and we're gonna newly created state using spread operator, the state here, put this state, and we save it. So let's see how it's really working now. If I add something here and if I save it, it will call this. And if I go in Redux and add function is triggering, and if I go in state, as you guys can see, my Redux state has been updated. So we will create a new array and we will put that the old array inside the new array because it will change the memory locations of the array. And it's gonna put the brand new array on our state, and our state was changing on Redux. So now if I click it another one, save, it will call the another action here, add. And in add, I can see the another one here. I can say test, save, add, test. So all data is been inserting in our array. So that's all it does. Okay. So basically, I'll just go a little revise one more time on this one. So the first thing what we did is we create the component. We added this form. We bind with our state on this one, the restaurant state. This is not regular state for the component. And at the time of submitting the form, we call something called add. So what is the add? Add is coming from props. And how the props is getting add is basically we create the add right here. Okay, we create our add right here and map the dispatch. And this basically take a restaurant object, and it calls something called dispatch. And dispatch we got from connect here. And the second argument we got dispatch. And dispatch will take the type and the payload. That's all. And the first argument will give me a state here. If I can see this state, what's really going on with this state, which I already got in a restaurant list, because this state I return as a restaurant list. So in restaurant list, I can show it here. This is my restaurant state there. If I click it, then it's gonna add it here. So this is my the Redux state. Okay, if I click it, it's gonna give me. If I save it, it's gonna add me. It's exact thing happening on my Redux tool on the bottom here. It's adding, it's giving me a new state every time when I'm adding, and I can also see a data here. Right here, I'm printing the data. I'm getting a data map state to props. This is how I got the data. And here, I got dispatch functions, and it's adding a new data. And I use something called connect. So once I do a dispatch, the dispatch will take a object here. Sorry, the object with the two property. The first one is type. The another is payload. The type is basically going to be action type. What we want to put it. We need to create a different, as I mentioned before, but for now I'll just add it. I'll just write it down. So here I put the restaurant object, and once I put this, I got this data on my action here on reducer. Right here I'm printing it, and I say if the type is add, then we will push our state on new data, and it's returning a new state, and this our state will reflect. The standard convention here is to use a switch, which I'm gonna do in next video. So on next video, I'm gonna create a new action I created all the actions here already on this function, but it's better to create in a new file and also an action type. And also what we need to do is we need to do a little bit of more work. We need to print this data also, and we also need to create a delete action. Okay, that's all I'm gonna do in next video. And thank you very much for watching, guys, this video. I hope you guys will learn something new, and please do like and subscribe my channel, and bye for now.